All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
Fireside Chats.
What is up? It is your boy Lou Martinez, aka Big Chief Burrito, live with you on a Tuesday. Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito, the 2 a.m. Burrito podcast. Call it what will. We are live from the Burrito Lounge, Chula Vista, California. Thank you for tuning in today. Big week this way. 3 streams back to back. Hispanic Heritage Month, Latinx, Latino Heritage Month, whatever you want to call it. We're celebrating. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's staying cool. I mean, California, up and down weather-wise, we're good. East Coast, all kinds of craziness going on. Middle of the country, crazy stuff happening. Hope everybody's being safe. Thank you, everybody that's tuning in. Interesting conversation today. Guy that I met through a different stream that we did a while back. Jose Yenke, longtime contributor to the pod. Arts for a Better Tomorrow, our organization that I support. They did a virtual play, and Francis Mateo, author, poet, actor, was one of the participants. I got to chat with him a little bit during that time. Seemed like a cool cat. We connected. And, he's an author, writes for the New York Times, working actor in New York, thespian, poet. A lot of cool things about this guy. So I saw that he had a book on Amazon called El Alto, which is, about his neighborhood. And I've always really admired when people have, where they're from, their neighborhood as their muse. And I want to talk to him about that, about poetry, about his journey, as we always do. So thank you for everyone that's tuning in right now. Go ahead and shoot a like if you're watching this on Facebook, thumbs up if you're on YouTube, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that notification bell so that you guys can get notified when I do other interviews live. You know how it goes. Support the stream, 2 a.m. Burrito, everything. So on this day, let's go ahead and get started right away with Mr. Francis Mateo. Oh, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Thanks for joining us, man.
Of course.
Now you are. I saw you liking the Cat Jam intro.
Man, that Bill O'Reilly, I was like, what can you say? And he caught me by surprise because I was like just looking at the fire, and all of a sudden. That was pretty funny.
No, yeah. I like right here because I can still see people even if they're not on the screen. And I was and when I put the intro, I always like to see what they're doing. Some people are like, "What the hell is that?" You were sitting there laughing. I was like, "Okay, he's into it." Where you located today? Where you joining us from, Francis?
New York City, Washington Heights.
How long you've been there?
I think about 12 years.
So you weren't born there, but you've been there for like the last 12 years or so.
Yeah. I before that I was in downtown Manhattan.
Like the Village or Soho or
The village area is a place called Chelsea, because my
Chelsea.
family has been there since the 60s, so it was
Nice.
kind of like
So you went from El Bajo to El Alto.
to El Bajo Alto.
Let's jump right into that. Like El Alto. When did you come up with the concept for that? Was it something that was always marinating in you, like as an artist? You know, kind of these thoughts, these things that you wanted to get out there, and where did the genesis for that idea to put it into a book stand for? Did you always want to be a writer?
I think so. I've always liked to write. I've always liked to write. I've always wanted to write poetry. I've always wanted to write short stories, and I always wanted to just write anything. Ever since I read that first book of where I used to live in the Dominican Republic, I found the book. I was 8 years old, something like that, and I found the book of Mark Twain. It was Tom Sawyer, and I read that, and immediately it's just like sparked my interest of like, oh my God. I mean, first of all, because reading can take you places, but writing them, it could be so much fun. But the genesis for El Alto, it's basically that I've heard people talk on the streets, and I thought it was the most hilarious things in the world. Like what the conversations that you get to hear as you walk, and you're like, this is incredible. I mean, if you put this in a movie, they're not gonna believe you. So I started writing on YouTube like these phrases, these conversations. They were basically like 3-4 lines, but then that gave way to a web series that I created with some friends that helped me out a big time, and we'd put it on. And there's 10 episodes that we created from this El Alto snippets. That was 10 episodes, and then we dropped that because the person that was directing it, he got an offer for a lot of money to do something else, and I was just like, go ahead, because we're doing this because
paid work comes first.
Yeah, this is like tripas corazón. You know, it wasn't like I was paying him anything, but we were having fun doing it, and we did 10 episodes, and you can find them on YouTube. It's called El Alto, and they are about a minute and a half or 2 minutes, because they're pretty fast snippets, but they did a great job doing it. And after that, I kept writing these conversations, and I'm at the same time poetry and short stories based on the neighborhood, because I thought there was so much life around here that I needed to kind of share. And to tell you the truth, I wrote it and I thought they were funny, and I was just like, I think they're funny, so I'm just gonna put them up. And I put them on Facebook, and somebody contacted me saying like, do you wanna make it into a book? Do you wanna compile a couple of things and just put them in a book? So the book is basically photos of the neighborhood of that time, short stories, poetry, and the snippets of conversations that I create as a person talking, then the one responding, and then a third replying to whatever it is.
Reminds me a little bit of like, I think it was, I don't know if it was Page Six or like a gossip column back in the day where it would be like overheard in Soho.
Yes. Exactly. It's kind of like that.
This one was waiting online at the movie theater the other day. You know, those kind of things.
It is exactly that. It was just me just listening to stuff, and I'm like, this is hilarious. I mean, if I tell this to people, they're not going to believe me. And then I started creating the pattern of like Del Alto, and then short stories based on stories that I've heard here too, and poetry as well.
Did you ever run into somebody that you overheard, and then they're like, "Hey, I know you wrote that story about me"?
Yes, there's a person at a bodega around here. He's one of the cooks at the bodega, and he makes mofongos. So I did a poetry. There's a poem that talks about that he will give you a free mofongo if something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's just, and he read it, and he's like, I know that's me. I know. So I was like, hey, yeah, you know, hey. Can't talk around writers.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything will be used.
Yeah, you break a writer's heart, you're gonna be in a million movies or TV scripts or poems at least, right?
Yes.
Do you remember the first poem you wrote?
For this book?
No, just in general. When you first caught the bug, was it like a school assignment? Was it a crush?
No, it was just because the thing is, my father used to write poetry.
Okay.
So it was kind of something that I fell into, and I I cannot tell you, but I remember when I remember that I was really inspired by Piñero, the New Eurekan poet,
Mhm.
because remember that he wrote about the Lower East Side when the Lower East Side was just not
Alphabet
the most,
City and
yeah, not the most pleasant place to be. So he wrote about it, and that's one of the things that caught my attention, like really early on, in the stuff that he was writing. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And also then reading about William Carlos Williams concerning himself with the way people talked, how the American people talked, and that's how his poetry, he kind of like did an image of that. And I wanted to create something like that, the way we talked, and the things that we talked at that moment in time. I thought they were important, and also the photos is because gentrification was beginning to creep on. Right now, it's something else, but it was beginning to creep on, and it's just like the things are not like they were before. It's not a neighborhood like it was before. I mean, still is, because if you go to certain places in New York and Manhattan, I'm only going to talk about Manhattan because I've only lived in Manhattan. I
right.
cannot say about the other neighborhoods in the other boroughs. But there were neighborhoods that right now they don't feel like that. Before, you like every street was a different thing, and here you can see it too. I mean, there's still that feeling of like if you go to the bodega, you call it Ramon's Bodega. It's not like the name of the place; it's just the owner because you know the owner.
Mhm.
If you go to the butcher, you call it by his name. It's
Or
so it's
Bobby.
that kind. Yeah, so it's like kind of that kind of thing.
Right. No, I talked to a couple of people, and they're like, well, Brooklyn is like Manhattan now, and and he's like, and I was like, but Queens is still Queens, right? They're like, yeah, pretty much Queens is still Queens, except for like Long Island City is, and a
Oh
couple of
man, Long
other.
Island City. Ooh, you walk there because you used to live in Queens, right?
Yeah, yeah, I grew up on Queens.
You grew up in Queens.
Yeah, 77th Street, Roosevelt Avenue. I
Yeah.
grew up 50 feet from the 7 train, so. My whole growing up, it was like when the train's going by and you have to like put the volume up and then put the volume back
So
down.
that rumbling, that
Yeah,
rumbling.
like every 5 minutes is boop, 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 boop. That's it. That's how you grew up anywhere near an elevated train. Uh, but I haven't been back to New York in 20 years. I hope to remedy that
Wow.
in the spring. And I used to make fun of people that were out when I first came out to California, and they're like, "Yeah, I left New York in '84, and I never turned back." And I was like, "Fuck that!" And then it was like '96 when I first came out here, and then I came back out in 2001, and I was like, I just stayed here. So
And you're like, forget it. I'm
yeah,
going back to
weed,
Queens.
burritos, sun, beaches. It was, a lot of good. There's a lot of good things. I miss like, Frank's Papaya, and I miss like, going to watch basketball.
Yeah,
Sports.
basketball, the food, and
Late '90s, you could catch me at the New Eurekan Cafe once in a while, like on a Saturday or on a Sunday for a
yeah.
fucking poetry slam. Like, I took acting classes at HB Studios in the Village, so I was all up in New York for a long ass time, and I love it and I miss it, but I understand that it feels, and maybe this is part of the reason why I'm not like I haven't rushed to go back, is because I feel that I left pre 9/11. So I just feel like I'm going to be returning, and I'm pretty sure I won't get lost on the subway, but I just feel like I'm going back to not necessarily the same place, if that makes sense.
It would not be the same place. I mean, because this is the thing, and El Alto too deals with that. And let me just pee right back in that is the whole thing about nostalgia, because nostalgia is a beast, man. It's like because the way you remember things, it's not necessarily the way things were happening,
Right.
because you remember the best moments in a different way. So by you coming back to New York, you're gonna be like, well, it's not gonna be the same. It's not gonna be the same. If you've been out of it for 20 years,
Yeah.
it's gonna be wild to you. You're gonna be like, what is this?
Because
What
I
is
remember
that?
Times Square as being Times Square. It was already changing when I left, but I
Yeah.
remember the old Times Square and the old Village. And if you walk too deep into Alphabet City, you're gonna get in trouble.
Oh
And if
no,
you go into Brooklyn, just because you need to get weed, and that's
not
about the only
anymore.
reason. That's about the only reason. Now you're gonna go get your fucking organic fucking.
That's right. You get it delivered. You get it delivered. You get it delivered to your home.
but and it's the same thing as basically little kid going back to the house they grew up in and thinking their room used to be so big and then seeing that it was tiny,
And
right?
it's tiny.
But I'm still looking forward to it. I'm still looking
Yeah,
forward
you
to
should. You should definitely should.
so your dad wrote poetry.
Yeah.
You started sort of, mimicking him, doing
Mimicking
that.
him, mimicking the songs, because the main thing were songs like troubadours, especially the Brazilian troubadours and the Cuban troubadours like the Silvio Rodriguez, Pablo Milanés, Chico Buarque. Those were the guys, and then in the then rap, hip hop, it's huge. Like I was talking to a friend about Big Daddy Kane and all that stuff because like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, bridge is over.
And then also the
That's
the,
how it
the
goes.
yeah, it's like all of those stuff, and then you start writing and writing and creating, and then one day you're like, why don't I do like publish something? Because El Alto is my second book. My first book is called Ubre Urbe, which is also about the neighborhood, but it's New York as an ubre, as an otter, like as if it was a cow's otter,
Mhm.
like the things that feed you. And that's only poetry, but this one is more mixed. This is short stories, the talks, the photos, and the poetry.
How's it been received? I mean, obviously, both inside the neighborhood and from outside sources. Did you see like an uptick when like In the Heights movie was coming out in terms of like interest in it or anything like that?
Well, the thing is, because in the Heights, it's totally different. It's another vision on the neighborhood, and because I remember seeing the musical a while ago, but this is more. This has I feel like it has more dirt because it talks about more stuff that is talked about in the neighborhood. It's not always a pretty picture,
Mhm.
but it's not that it's a bad picture, but it's just not always like everyone is just like flowers.
Singing and dancing.
Yeah, no, it's like flowers and stuff. People are like just playing the dominoes and doing all that stuff.
But back to like in terms of the reception inside the neighborhood, how did you feel like people were
Well,
reacted
in
to it?
in the in the in the in the community, in the letters community, it was well received, and people it was well received. I mean, every time I went someplace and I was reading, people were like really digging the poems, really digging the story, having a good time, and that's one of the main things that I wanted to, because being a performer too as well, I wanted that connection. It's a more thing of like me having that connection with the audience, and I thought they really digged it.
Did the performance or the poetic side sort of come out first for you? I mean, I know you started with the songs and the stuff like that, but when did the performance become added to it? Like,
I think everything came together. I could not disassociate those two because I think in the way you read a poem, it's you're performing it, and the cadence that you give it to is performance. But so I cannot say like, oh no, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. I know exactly the moment that I was like, okay, I need to be an actor. And this is the funny thing because I remember when I used to work at a place called the Black Book. It was a illustration things, and I was working there, and I was earning nice money, for the time, and that was pre 9/11. And I remember the time that I decided to be an actor, and I was just like, you know what, I need to find some information, so I'm going to do an MFA in acting, and I went to Brooklyn College. But before that, I talked to my parents, and I sat them down, and I was just like, yo, Dad, Mom, I got to tell you something. And my dad was just like, yes. And I was like, what? I'm like, wait. What do you mean? I was like, I want to be a grandfather. Yeah. I was like,
oh,
no. Wait. Hold your horses. Nah, it's not that. It's like, I'm going to go to school for acting. So I might be poor for a while. So I just wanted to let you know that. So, but he was so excited because he thought he was going to be a grandfather.
when you finally told him that he was going to be a grandfather, how did he react?
Oh, with the same
Okay,
enthusiasm.
I was just saying maybe like, did he think you were like crying wolf or something, like tricking him? Wait a minute, I don't want to get excited until I see.
He's like, wait a second. No, but no, he wasn't. The enthusiasm was the same.
Okay. Um. So you start training to be an actor, but you're already an artist, or you already feel like an artist. I'm assuming at this point, you feel like you have a desire to express yourself with writing, with words, with actions, and you want to add to sort of your repertoire, so to speak, right?
Yes.
To your instruments, as they say in the theater. Um,
Tune the instrument, which is the
tune
body.
your instrument. What kind of training did you take? Was it just like traditional? What kind of
Well, Brooklyn College gives you an array of things. So they give you a lot of information, and it's basically you keep the things that work for you. They give you Meissner, they give you Chekhov, they give you Vakhtangov school. So it's all of that stuff, and you pick the things that you think that are going to work for you, and that you can envision things. And once you get out, I mean, if that doesn't work, then you go for something else. That's basically the training. Voice, all those methods of acting, how to approach things, and how to be truthful.
improv?
Yeah, all of that stuff.
I'm a Uta Hagen head myself, but
Uta Hagen. Your HP days.
I was for life. There's actually an HP Studios West Coast in LA that I found out about recently. But when I went there, one of my friend's grandmothers was one of the administrators that had been with the studio for a long time. So I got to be a key student, which means I didn't have to pay for classes. I used to say show up, do the role, move the props in between scenes, and go once a month for like 4 hours. I used to have to go like clean the stairs or do something, and
Not bad.
I got to take classes for free. I never took a class with Uta Hagen. I did audit her class a couple of times, and it was cool to see her work with actors. But and not just HB, but there's tons of places in New York where you can get training from people that 3 hours later are going to be on Broadway. And the acting and the improv and the theater community in New York is a very tight knit one. How do you feel about the fact that Broadway's coming back? They're reopening. Like I know it's been sort of staggering in a little bit, but how do you feel about? I mean, obviously, people are going to have different opinions about whether it was the right thing to shut it down for this long. Yeah. But how do you feel now that there's like a light at the end of the tunnel and it's
well, I think it's great that it's coming back. First, because jobs are coming back for a lot of people who didn't have. I'm looking forward to going to the theater, like maybe see Hadestown, but I think it's a good thing that it's coming back now when they're more sure of the things that they have to do. Even though like anything can happen because of this thing, it's making people readjust as we speak.
Yeah. And when you think about like theater, what kind of moments or performances do you remember that stand out for you from all the shows that you've seen?
From the shows that I've seen?
Yeah, is there something like, for example, like I haven't seen I mean, I used to be involved with theater and I was an actor at high school plays and stuff like that. So we went to the theater, you go see what was discounted and see what kind of stuff you can watch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember when I saw the musical for Cyrano de Bergerac, that was one of the moments that I remember, like, and then obviously like John Leguizamo, Freak.
Oh, John Leguizamo, man.
Like stuff like that. I also remember Natalie Portman in the what's this the Journal, Anne Frank. She did.
Yeah, Anne Frank, the Journal
when she was young, and stuff like that. So, are there any like that sort of stand out for you? Where they're like,
there's a bunch of them, of course. I mean, you said John Leguizamo. I mean, forget about it. Any of his stand-ups that he did over there and on Broadway and off Broadway, they were fantastic. It's just to see the energy that he had, man. And I saw him a couple of years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago, with his latest.
Latin
Can't remember the name right now. Which one?
Latin History for
Morons. Yeah. I saw it, and it was great. And I saw it at the Public Theater, which is a small theater, so that was pretty great to see him there. But there was a play that I saw. It was called Jerusalem. I think it was what's the name of our Butterworth? Jess Butterworth. He did this play with Mark Rylance. Man, oh man, oh man! When he did this play, I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah,
and that was one of the things. Is like, if I ever do something like that on stage, man, that's it. I'm golden because what he did in that play, man. It's called Jerusalem. He was just phenomenal, and I've seen a lot of other people. Like I saw Liev Schreiber do Macbeth in the Park, and when he did that monologue of Tomorrow and Tomorrow, to me that was just a revelation. Like I didn't like because he's so good in theater. He's so good. I saw him in radio play, and he was so damn good too as well. I mean, there's so many performances that you see that
The ones
really
that
take
can
you
go
back.
from the set to the stage, like that's a special type of talent. I like working with theater actors because usually you just have to tell them to tone it down a little bit, and then
And it goes down. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy. It's easy to tone down. It's easy. It's pretty easy.
it's easier to say, are you like at a 9? I need you like at a 6. Everything else perfect. They hit their mark. They enunciate. They say their lines right. But sometimes it's too hard.
And sometimes it's too much. I did a play years ago. I was doing what play was it? Was it King Lear? Was it King Lear or Richard III? I was doing a play. It was one a Shakespeare play outside. It was in one of the parks. I can't remember what park it was. And then I got to travel to Texas to shoot to Austin, Texas to shoot a commercial for Church's Chicken. And you do a play every day in the system. So every time they go like action, I'm like no. It's like wait.
Those are like the direct two opposites of the spectrum of profession. Church's Chicken commercial, Shakespeare in the park, summer stock, and fried foods.
And fried food, you gotta do it. It pays. And also, I got to go to Austin, Texas for the first time, so that was fantastic.
Austin's a hot city right now, man. People. I think just the right amount of liberals are moving there to make it kind of an interesting mix. If you could perform as a lead on a Broadway show or write a play for others to perform, what do you think you would rather do at this point?
Well, for writing, because the thing with writing is like it should be something that is really close to me.
Mhm.
First of all, if I was writing it, if I was like to star in one, I would love it to be something new and something, I don't know, something very interesting, powerful, and that really tells a story worth the time to sit down, and then when you see it, you can't go home right away. That you have to like think about it or walk around the block.
Let it digest.
Yeah, let it digest and be like, yo, what did I just see? Like that kind of play. Like
go sit in a diner, drink some coffee, talk about it.
Drink some coffee. I mean, like 2 espressos, please.
But I guess it's just it's. I mean, I guess the question is, has it? You're an actor. You're trained as an actor. You obviously always written poems and stuff like that. You've written the 2 books, but has that next step occurred where you're like, well, I want to write. I could write something for the stage. I could write something as a short film. Past sketches, or are you content at with the sort of things that you're putting out and how your experience and your artistic?
Oh no, I'm never content. I wrote a short film called Frank Hill, PI, Notario PI.
Mhm.
Frank Hill, it's a guy in Washington Heights who's a notario, who's a notary, and what he does on the side, he is like the private detective of the neighborhood. So when something like whatever happens, they go to him and be like, yo, we need help because of this and that. So I wrote the first episode, which
his office is always in the back of like a botanica somewhere, right? Like,
yo, I'm telling you. So we wrote that. It was 15 minutes and I had $200 and we did it with $200. It was
nice.
I don't know how we did it, but we did it. And we shot like every weekend, but we shot the 15 minutes and we saw it. And it's like he's the community detective, but he's a notary. And this first episode is about this lady who feels like she's like someone's gonna kill her, and it goes from there. Now I have written right now 2 more episodes, and we shot a teaser. My wife directed the teaser for. I think you can see the teaser. You can see it in our website, Radio Lu Films, and it's the teaser for Frank Hill. And it's because the place where we shot The Office for him, it closed down because of gentrification. So I wanted to do something that spoke about gentrification, closing up the spot, and also that saying that Frank Hill is going to move to another place.
How did you? I mean, you're basically living that in real time in terms of like gentrification and changes in the neighborhood. I remember, Washington Heights, and I had a lot of friends that lived like in that area, also South Bronx, instead of going to the Yankees game, things like that. Have you noticed? And I know there was always the looky loos, going to go see the Joker stairs and stuff like that, where
In the
they
Bronx, yeah.
and stuff like that. And but how are you guys dealing with that in real time? As an artist, because from the outside looking in, months sorry during the last few months during the last year and a half, I sort of thought, you read these things like people are moving out of New York, they're moving out, the people that did it, because they're because in California, even though we were locked in, pretty much everybody has like at least a yard, and it's more
Yeah.
wide open. In New York, you could be trapped in a very small confined space with maybe just like a fire escape, and that's your only avenue to the world. So you heard all these things about people moving, and I thought, well, if people are leaving New York, maybe, and prices are dropping, or this and that is happening, maybe that allows space for more struggling artists to stay in the city or come back to the city, and to sort of bring that resurgence. But there's always gentrification, there's always neighborhoods that are experience changes. How have you dealt with that as an artist specifically, and happening around you?
Well, the pandemic certainly put a stop to a lot of things. Things were going really fast, and when the pandemic hit, it's just like, whoo.
Slow down.
So people left in thrones. I mean, it was incredible. If you wanted to rent one of those U-Hauls, you had to like put it on hold like for a week,
Wow.
because people were living in thrones. The rent never went down because the owners of the buildings, they prefer to have empty buildings instead of just like putting the rent down, because they like the wait game. They know they play the long hand. It didn't happen. I mean, it didn't happen. The prices just stayed the same, probably more. And then a lot of people were not. They didn't have a job. I mean, thank God I had a job, because it was incredible. But I was here. I was just I'm here. There's a joke around going like, the couples that stayed together after the pandemic, they were like solid, because you had to be
Yeah.
in
You went on an 18-month road trip.
Yeah, in a one bedroom. That's it. And you couldn't go anywhere. They've been the farthest thing you could do was just going to the fire escape. So as an artist, I mean, it all depends how it hits you, because a lot of the things can hit you like with pain, with wanting not to do anything, and that's valid. Not to do anything, because that's also time to look inside yourself and just, what's the next step. So a lot of people wrote a lot of things. I used to write every night. Every night I used to write, just like staring at the window, because that was the only thing that I could see, just the lights on the building that across the street. And I basically wrote about that. Out of that, I saved like 10 poems that I just have for a new book that I'm writing right now, in English. It's totally in English. But it all depends. But it all depends. I mean, it's difficult to say. I can't talk about other people. But for me, it was one of the things. It's like it happened. I slowed down, and I knew exactly like the things that I shouldn't do once we go back to the new normal.
Right.
And what is it that I wanna talk about? And still is changing, because I saw a documentary yesterday, and I was just like, oh man, that's right. Things, looking for that thing. And now that we have more time to think, because here in New York, it was just I was going like caña pa'l ingenio. It was just everything was fast, and you couldn't have time to think, or to like, what am I going to do tomorrow? No, I got to go home, go to sleep, put the kids to bed, next work. But so it's different from every person. I know a lot of people who wrote a lot and did a lot of things, but there was a lot of people also who were going through a rough time, and they were just trying to heal. And the thing is, like, heal, and then you can jump at it again.
And it's true that there was a lot of people like, wait, now I have time to do some of this stuff. Like, for example, that movie that I shared with you, Ladrón. That was
Ladrón de bicicletas.
Ladrón de bicicletas was something that we filmed like 3-4 years ago, but it never was just right, because the character who played Enzo,
Mhm.
when I was kind of stubborn on that one, because My friend Dominic is a great actor, and I knew he could do the physical parts that I wanted for the scenes perfectly. But he can't order at a taco shop. His Spanish is horrible, even though he's Mexican. He's Spanish, and his mom's a Spanish teacher, which is sad. But he was just so at first I was trying to teach him phonetically how to do the voiceovers for the poems, and it just didn't fit. It didn't work, and I was already in the movie because I got chops. I'll tell you.
I saw you.
I'll tell you a story about that in a second. But it just didn't work. I needed the voice of Enzo to have some gravitas, some sort of thing.
Yeah.
And our mutual friend Jose Yenke and I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, do you mind doing some voiceovers for this?" And then he's like, "Yeah, check it out." A week later,
a great voice. I mean, you hear that and you're like, "Whoa, wait a second, who's that?"
It definitely changed the entire edit around, and then I submitted it to some festivals, got in, and I was able to do that. And obviously, I was one of 1.2 million people that restarted or started a podcast as well, as a way for me to have like human interactions and stuff like that, because I take care of my dad who's 91. So for the first year, I was at the house too. Like it was just me, my dad, my roommates, my girl would come once in a while, but that was it. And so a lot of people had to adjust. And again, this has been said before, but you shouldn't shame people who didn't get a lot done, because for them it's just a reset. You know, some people just needed to like lounge around and stuff that and
do nothing. I mean, seriously, do nothing because it's necessary.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta. I struggle with that, with like not doing anything. I sort of feel like there's no excuse to be bored in 2021. Like I say, I have a list of shows that I purposely don't watch that I know I'm gonna like, so that if I ever get bored, I'm like, well, I have these. Like Ted Lasso was one. I was like, oh, Ted Lasso's a thing. People like that show. I'm not gonna watch it.
I haven't watched it yet.
But the other day I was bored. And I was like, all right, Ted Lasso, episode 1, let's go. And then I was like 7 episodes in. I'm like, damn, I need to stretch out a little bit.
And you were hooked.
I know. So I feel like, you know, it's a thing, but you shouldn't punish people with that. We are talking live with Francis Mateo. Let me plug you real quick here. His book is called El Alto. You can watch it. I mean, you can't watch it. You can show it. You can order it right now live on Amazon. $10. That's a bargain.
That's a bargain.
That's a bargain. And it's got the cool artwork here. You got the cool picture, with the
that was that's an excellent artist from the neighborhood too. He lives across the street actually. It's his name is Alex Guerrero, and he took that photo right here on Dykeman Street.
All right, and then let's take a look at some of. So I like to do a bit sometimes called reel reviews in real time, where I watch somebody's reel that I haven't seen and I react to it. So let's do that right now for Mr. Francis Mateo with this reel.
Oh boy, here we go.
Don't tell me you're playing detective again. No. I'm just curious.
Did you hear that?
I used to see her from time to time in the neighborhood, and I just wanted to know. Thanks for the info, though. Enjoy the donuts.
Listen, you two. You better sleep with one eye open, because I'm gonna be hiding in your closet, under your bed, in your freezer. You better hunker down and get some canned food, because me and my father, we're gonna launch codes for nuclear war. Have you ever been in an apartment with no heat?
I would start with this clip.
Dark days, motherfucker.
Lo que yo quiero saber, ¿cómo tú te comunicas con un tipo como este? Porque ese tigre no va a aparecer en la página amarilla.
Didn't you see her? Oh, no, I was probably checking something on my phone. Yo, you back with her?
No. I just saw her outside of the tunnel. It was mad awkward.
Yo, you still hung up on her.
No. I don't know, man. I have this existential crisis. I don't know.
Juan, yo soy Frank. Frank Gil.
Uh-oh.
Dígame, ¿cómo le ayudamos?
Okay. I would move the first clip to the end. That's my only note, because I like that second clip because you're more active. I like to when I see an actor's reel, I like to see how they look, their size on the screen, and the movement and the anger, because I think that would start it off a little bit.
And that's a lot of things happening on that scene.
There's a lot of things happening, and then the order of the rest of them are fine, FYI. But that's been Real Reviews with Lou Martinez. Let's get a quick
Real Reviews.
I gotta hit the transitions once in a while.
Hey,
I
it's
got, you know,
good. It's good. It's good. You know.
I paid for them. So what? You meet somebody. They're young. Well, actually, no. Let me kind of, because we touched on it a little bit, but I did want to kind of get a solid kind of segment with you regarding everything that happened with the In the Heights movie. You know, my thought process behind it was that the only place where they messed up is in not hiring. Not necessarily, even if they didn't hire a Latino or Latinx director, they should have at least hired somebody from New York. I think, because I think that it was missing a familiarity with the neighborhood. I think Lin-Manuel should have directed it himself, number one, and that would have been a better choice. But I do think that a director from New York, or at least, you know, a director with, you know, Hispanic or Latino heritage, or somebody that had been through Washington Heights once or twice at least, would have been a better choice. I know sometimes you got to get the hot director, and they were like, the way they sold that was like, we got the guy from Crazy Rich Asians, and we got Lin-Manuel Miranda, and then we're gonna put them together, and then boom, Latinx movie, yay! Nobody's gonna complain about nothing, yay! But of course, we can't have shit without shitting on each other for something. And then obviously, you know, like I said, that would be making a movie about Mexicans in San Diego and not including Mexicans that are from Tijuana and that are here and stuff like that. So it was a very glaring omission to not. And then if they were retconning everything, they could have just made the Benny character Dominican. And I think that would have, instead of African American, and if they were, you know, since they were already changing stuff around from the musical. But from your perspective, where did you land on the controversy, and you know, how do you feel overall over like the conversation? Because one thing that I want us to achieve is the ability to make crappy movies, because there's white directors all the time and they put out crap movies, and I feel that if it's a Latino, Latina, you know, Latinx director, because there's so little of us that are able to put stuff out there, you know, it's sort of a higher degree of difficult. I want us to get to the point where we can just make a shitty Transformers movie and just be like, hey, there was a Latino person that directed that. Who cares, right?
Yeah, I think the expectations for us Latinos, BIPOC people, it's tremendous, because it's like, oh, if they don't do well, then they're not gonna get a job. I mean, why? If the others do that stuff and they do it all the time and they keep doing it and they keep doing it, so why can't we? Like, it's true what you say. I mean, it's totally true. It's like, why can we do a crappy movie? It's fine. It's not the end of the world. We are not curing, you know, anything. But for the movie, the thing is also, but let me tell you this: I was an extra in that movie on In the Heights, but my scene it didn't appear. Mm-hmm. And it's a funny thing, because I think was it NPR or something? NPR did an interview with me, and in the interview I was just like, but I tell you, I don't know if my scene is going to appear, because you never know what they're going to choose, right? And you know, you're a director, editor, and you know that if the scene doesn't go with the whole thing. But of course, always it can be better, always. But it's easier for me to say it after the fact, because I wasn't involved in the doing of it. And also, a movie like that has a lot of money in it, and people want their money back, and it's a whole nother thing. It's like you say, so you got the guy from Crazy Rich Asians, and you got Manuel Miranda. Nothing could go wrong. This is gonna be amazing, because the way we're gonna sell this, that's it. It's all. People are gonna go to the theaters and see these things like crazy. But it's true. I mean, what people were saying about the whole thing of like, oh well, the majority of people here are BIPOC in this neighborhood. Like, if you go out, you'll see it. It's not like you. Yeah. And I tell you this: that back in the day, I don't know if you remember a series called Resurrection Boulevard.
I remember the name. I don't remember.
Was it in Cinemax or Showtime? I think it was Showtime. It was called Resurrection Boulevard. And after that, it was a Soul Food. I think it was the name of the series. When I saw those two shows, I never clicked with Resurrection Boulevard, but I clicked with Soul Food, because I saw myself in Soul Food rather than in the Resurrection Boulevard, because of the whole thing of being a black man in Latin America. It's it's totally different because movies and everything has told us that the only Latinos they have to look like Antonio Banderas or stuff like that. Like we don't come in colors or in other shades. So that's one of the things why probably they went and casted all of the people in
Or
that.
as, or as
Yeah.
what's her face said, the color of mud.
Because-
That was a bad look for her when she said that.
So yeah, but the thing is that I mean, I know that there were things that could be better, and we don't get, and you can see the actors of colors don't get the opportunity that they should
Right.
get, and there were things that were said. That was There was an interview that someone said something that was that bothered me, and I don't even want to say what it is because it bothered me what she said, and I was like, whatever. But I think we should make more movies.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I'd like it.
This
get
is
us to
not
the
the,
point
this is
where-
not like In the Heights is not like the definite thing that is gonna like that's it. If this doesn't work, like that's it. That's a lie. There'll be more, and people will watch it.
Yeah, I think it was sad to see the self cannibalism, and then I think a lot of the majority of people were like, let us have this moment before we start having this conversation. Let us enjoy the fact that we have a musical that is mostly, it's got smudges. It's not perfect. They missed the mark a little bit, but a lot of people felt like they wanted us to they wanted the people to just give it a moment to breathe. And I did see a lot of reviewers and stores sort of backtrack even because they were like, the Heights, the best, the great, it's great. I can't wait for it, blah, blah, blah. And then they saw some of the backlash. And then they were like, yeah, there's an issue with it though, because,
Yeah,
and
no,
stuff like
definitely
that.
you can see that. I mean, I enjoyed the movie because it had like great moments, great musicals, great people dancing, and no, I enjoyed it. I sat down to watch a movie, but then those questions.
You have to have the conversation. But I hope
Yeah,
we get
those
to the point where
questions.
we can just put out a crappy movie and people are like, it's a movie. There's another one coming out next week. The
Yeah.
one thing that I didn't like about the sort of backlash was the fact that a lot of the people that were going hard in the paint against it hadn't seen the movie. And that's one thing where I think is just an issue with society as a whole, that people read a headline and they immediately pick up a talking point and they immediately feel like they are part of the crew and the club that has this opinion and they just go for it. But you ask a lot of the people that had those hard and paid opinions, a lot of them didn't watch the movie. They're like, well, I don't need some movie. I trust so and so, and I saw their tweet, and so I'm with them. And it's like, I understand you could be with somebody, you could have that. I came in looking at it from both directions, like, okay, and I just sort of like, there's nothing better than watching a movie with zero expectations and letting it hit you.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than sitting down to watch a movie you know nothing about and just experiencing that. And I think we know too much, right?
Yeah, no, and I saw the musical, and I was when I sat down to watch the movie, I was just like, surprise me, because that's the whole point of me watching a movie is just surprise me, and that whole thing that you said is so true. I mean, people that haven't seen it, they like the critique. I was like, but you haven't seen it. How can you really? It's like if you haven't read something, how can you talk about it if you haven't seen anything? I mean, it's that whole thing. Like if you read 40 characters, like what people are saying. It's like, wow, that's a special talent. I wish I had it.
If you a young poet, writer comes to you and says they want to learn more about poetry, learn more about writing, what's the first book of poetry, the first author that comes to your mind that you would want them to say you should start by reading?
It depends, actually. It depends on the person.
Okay.
Like, it depends on the person that I'm talking to. For example, if it was you that's coming to me, like, what should I read? Like, I would choose something like Miguel Piñero for you. Be like, read Miguel Piñero, or read. There are people that are amazing and they're newer.
I've that written down.
There's kind of newer. There's a Puerto Rican author that I read, and I was just like, my God, this guy's amazing. His name was Gallego, and his book was Barrunto. Man, I think it was in the 90s that I read that, or was it early 2000s? It was called Barrunto. It was like, blew my mind. And if you read something like that, Barrunto, as the Willie Colon song,
Mm-hmm.
De Barrunto de mi corazón, presentimiento. So he chose that, and he talked about the neighborhood and all of that stuff too as well. And there's also a Dominican poet called Homero Pumarol. I mean, there's a bunch of people there that are fantastic writers. that it, for example, and that's for you because it's kind of like
Right.
I like to tailor things
Okay, that makes
to
sense.
see what that person.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just saying. Claudia stopping by and says they nailed it with Donna Claudia. They did. They did do that. That was it.
Oh no, she was amazing. She was amazing. That was the scene that I was in. I was in the scene when she comes out on the other side of the. But it's just to explain it. Like I saw her and she saw me, and I used to in the thing that I was selling knockoff wallets and bags and handbags.
Nice.
But it didn't make it.
All right. If I was going to give you something to read, it would be a book called Son of Rhubarb. And it's by a poet. It's by a writer called H. Allen Smith. He's a writer from he was like one of these writers in like the 1940s, 30s, and 40s. It's about a cat that inherits a baseball team.
Nice.
And about this girl that's like his caretaker, and it's really cool because it's written in this old school sort of like very very cool like I don't know how to explain it, but I think you would enjoy it. And the writer H. Allen Smith wrote a book called Other People Named H. Allen Smith, where he found other people that had his same name and wrote little stories about him. He was an interesting character from like the 19th century. I think you would enjoy it.
Definitely. I just looked it up, so I know the picture. I'm gonna go and look for it.
You can find it. I have an old copy here somewhere, but you can find it at other places. Let me ask you this: a couple of quick hitters here. Walt Whitman or Ray Bradbury?
Whitman.
I sing the Buddy Electric.
Yes, but it's.
No, I mean, hey, I love Walt Whitman.
But it's yeah.
Man. I go Ray Bradbury because There Will Come Soft Rains is probably my favorite short story of all time. And the poem that's inside of that short story is one of my favorite poems of all time.
Listen, the thing is, like, I will be like both because then I have to choose one to make the game interest. But it's like, how can you? Yeah.
All right, you got to spend an afternoon in Upper Manhattan with a friend from out of town. Where would you take them? Yankee Stadium or the Cloisters?
Listen, I will take him to the Cloisters because it's cheaper. Yankee Stadium is expensive as hell, man. It's you got to break bank in order to go to Yankee Stadium.
The Cloisters is an underrated cheap day.
Cloisters is right there. I'm really close to the Cloisters, actually. Yeah, I know the Cloisters.
I love me some Cloisters, man. Claudia's on team Ray Bradbury. Thanks for stopping by, Cyro.
Sorry, Claudia.
No, it's all right. But like I said, underrated spot, right? Like you tell a girl, hey, we're going somewhere. All of a sudden, why we're on the train to Uptown? And then you're like, oh, we got to take a bus now. And they're like, oh, okay. And then you get there, and it's like, all right, cool. What is this? A monastery?
But the best thing is to take the M4.
Right.
Because the M4 gives you like a super tour of New York.
Yeah.
Because Fifth Avenue and all that stuff, and then you end up in the Cloisters.
Okay, I'm gonna do
and
that.
And then
next
you can
time.
have the whole.
Okay, yeah, the train to the buses. Yeah, the bus the whole way. That's definitely the way to go.
So that you can see my hand.
All right, and now we're gonna go to a topic that I like to call "Should I buy this?"
Should I buy this?
Should I buy this? Now, I am a sucker for Jean-Michel Basquiat art. He's one of my favorite painters of all time. And I also love pop art from the late 80s, early 90s. I remember getting off the train and seeing Keith Haring when I was just a little kid doing a chalk painting in the subway. That's why I have this Keith Haring 89 Coach wallet. I got it at an outlet store. Actually, my brother got it out. They had an outlet store. But recently, Coach has come out with a whole Jean-Michel Basquiat same old line, and they have this wallet for $114. Francis Mateo, should I buy this wallet?
But you say you put me in a tight spot because you showed me the other wallet with Keith Haring.
I already have a wallet. Have a wallet.
But it doesn't matter because you're like, oh, I have this, and like Haring and Basquiat, same time, all that stuff.
It's Coach. It's $114. I really can't afford
$114.
it.
Jesus. Let me tell you something. I would not get it. I would not. But you can get it if you, because I see how you lit up talking about it, and you show me the Keith Haring, so you should get it.
The thing is, the Dizzy said, "No, it doesn't look good. Thank you, Dizzy." Here's the thing. Here's my reasoning. I'm not.
I know the background. I know the background. I'm like, wait, what?
I don't know.
The background killed it.
I mean, I don't know. I think that the reason that I'm not going to buy it is that you shouldn't spend more on the wallet than the amount of money that you normally.
That's why I say, like, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Don't spend more money on a wallet than you would normally have inside of that wallet.
Get a $115 wallet to put $5 in it.
Yeah, to put $5 in a Metro card. It's not.
Go to Chinatown.
What do you think what is the status of like because I see you out there filming stuff, and I see that you're like in other people's projects. How do you feel like the indie filmmaking scene in New York is right now? Do you think that there's a lot of excitement, or is it mostly just a bunch of like post-pandemic stuff going on, or are people really trying to tell real stories and stuff?
People are really trying to tell stories, because I shot this movie with an excellent director, an artist, Eduardo Velázquez, and he was and it was interesting. It was really interesting, and also post-pandemic. I mean, there's a lot of things that are different now. And also with COVID and all that things, but a lot of people are trying to tell the stories, and of course, there's a lot of backed up stuff from before that couldn't go out. So, but people are shooting, people are doing it, especially now.
How do you feel about how do you balance the amount of because I know you posted that Bud Light commercial that you did. I thought was hilarious. How do you balance the need for, like you said, you had to fly out to Texas for a Church's Chicken commercial versus I know you have jobs or whatever, but how do you manage the amount of things like that you do versus the amount of non-commercial stuff? Because obviously if you were like if anybody was like, hey, we're going to sign you up to be Lily from the AT&T commercials or Flo from the Progressive commercials, where it's this like Money in the Bank, boom 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 boom, you're like, hey, for my family, I got to do something like that. But how do you balance the working actor aspect versus feeling that you want to provide for your family, but you also want to maintain that artistic sort of integrity?
I don't know, and I tell you this in now that I'm calm about it, but before the pandemic, it was driving me nuts, like how to do it. But post pandemic, I am more relaxed about it, and I try to make time for everything. And when the projects come, I try to just like make him fit into my schedule and not go crazy about it and not really torture myself like I used to before. And I'm just waiting for that thing just to make the bank so that I can do what I need to do.
Do the thing that you need to do so that you can do the thing that you want to do.
That's right. I mean, there's no lie in that. It's that stuff.
Right, we're wrapping it up here with Mr. Francis Mateo. I want to remind you guys, go out and buy his book. It's only $10.
It's only $10. Buy
it's only $10. He's an author. It's basically about the real Washington Heights, about the stories of people there, told in anecdotes, poetry, little sketches and stuff like that, and it's really interesting. And obviously, you're going to be supporting Latinx, Latino, Hispanic Heritage Month. I want to make sure that I'm putting as many people out there for people to know. As always, make sure that you guys are following us all across all the. There it is, right there. There you go. Nice. That's a nice there book.
And if you there's the web series, there are 10 episodes. They're in Spanish, but they're deeply Dominican Spanish. So I think there's one in English or two. So if you want to check that out too.
I'm gonna check out the web series because I did not know about them. I was doing a little bit of research, but I didn't get to Frangil. I do want to watch that,
and the Frangil too as well. I mean, I would love to see it. And like I said, I mean, I wrote it, but I didn't direct it. I wrote it, and I just kind of like took the whole post production thing, and
And I tell you what, man, they're one of the things that I miss. I mean, I miss Frank's Papaya. I miss my pizza joints. I miss my Chino Latino food. I miss my hybrid food places over there. But I also miss because I used to. Well, I lived in Queens and I lived in Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, Corona.
Yeah, which is like the line, the 7
yeah.
line, you know.
So I grew up mostly with Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Colombians. I mean, I grew up with everybody, but the tons of Dominicans. And the Dominican food trucks in Corona at like 3 a.m. hit different because like you would just go there and they just have like these trays of all this thing and you just hit so good with some rice and some this and the boom.
And you're like, give me a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Throw it in.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be like it would be like 7. You could throw how many? A little bit of everything. Give me some shit. I don't care. Okay, we have one more question from Miss Claudia. Says, "What's a fun fact about Mr. Mateo?"
What's a fun fact? I don't know.
Fun facts.
What's a fun fact? I have no idea. Oh my god, that's a tough.
All right, let me ask you. What's the first movie that you saw that you obsessed about that wanted to watch over and over?
There's so many of them. I mean, the Star Wars when I was a little kid, definitely.
Are you an original trilogy or middle trilogy?
Yes, I am. But also, I don't know why, but I'm crazy about Mean Streets. Scorsese. That movie, I'm nuts about. I'm nuts about that movie. There's something about it.
Scorsese and De Niro and Harvey Keitel.
Keitel, man. When Keitel did Bad Lieutenant, do you see Bad Lieutenant with Keitel?
Of course. It's a good. All right, come on, you can think about it.
A fun fact. I don't know. I when I'm driving, I like to sing to musicals.
Did you? How do you feel about the Evan Hansen? Did you watch that, or are you excited about that?
I haven't seen it. I want to, and I want to see the play first. And I know there's a whole lot of because there's always going to be a lot of stuff people talking because they wanted to use the real actor that did the play and because he's older and this and that. So
I guess
I can't say. Yeah, I can't say anything because I haven't seen it. I don't want to be one of those.
I
saw a text. On Twitter, I saw that it sucks, and I don't
reserve judgment.
That's right. I'm like, nah, I just gotta see it first.
All right. Well, Mr. Mateo, we're getting here close to the end. I know you got kids, and they've been very good for the last hour. So
tremendously good. I hear them when they peak.
I started to hear some rumbling, but we want to get to a one subject that I like to do, which is fun that I like to do with my people. Let me pull it up real quick, but let me just remind people one last time that if you guys are watching, leave a like, leave a comment, make sure that you are subscribed and following us so that you can keep up with other interviews. Follow us everywhere, facebook.com/2am burrito, twitch.tv/2am burrito, youtube.com/2am burrito. Special thanks to the organizations that I work with, Community Through Hope, helping people that are homeless in San Diego get clothes, clothing, and a place to live. Arts for a Better Tomorrow, Jose Yankees organization, helping people deal with trauma through the arts, and WeSavedAPuppy.org. They help dogs, homeless street dogs in TJ, find them homes. So those are the organizations that I work with. You can also go on 2amburrito.com, find our entire filmography, find my podcast anywhere you find your podcast by searching for the 2am Burrito podcast. This pod will be up tomorrow on Spotify, iTunes, Bullhorn, and anywhere that you guys get this. But we're getting close to the end. There's one last road to go down, and that's something that I like to call the bracket bit.
All right, boys, you guys know what that sound means. It's time for bracket bit. Bracket bit. Bracket bit. Woo, 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 woo. Bracket bit. Bracket bit. Whoa, 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 whoa!
Fireside Chats.
Boys and girls, it is time for a bracket bit. What's up, Francis?
No, I love your bits. I love it.
Hey, I literally told my friend I want to do something that's called bracket bit. And I want it to sound like the Wayne's World song, Wayne's World, Wayne's World. And he's like, I got
Party
you.
time. It's 6 a.m.
He's like, just sing it and let me hear it. I did that in one take into my cell phone, and I sent it to him, and he just put music behind it. And then my homegirl Jovi did the vocals and stuff for it. So
Looks great.
sorry about that. Give me 1 second here. So I did want to ask you one last thing. You saw my acting as an actor. Tell me how I did.
I wanted to see more. Like I wanted to see more of you, but I wanted to see more of that character because there was something really interesting in that character, the way you were doing it, and I thought that character left pretty early, and right away, like everything was just, I don't know, like you should make a movie out of a short film out of that character, like really out of that character, because it reminded me kind of like, I don't know, it was. I don't know, man. It's what is the name of that series? I can't remember the name right now. It's not popping. But I really like to see that character. Because I mean, the dude. Can I talk about the scene?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Because you come in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And then you just get up and just like, yo, here, take this, take that, because because you're a pusher. It's so funny because it's like you're probably getting your checks,
Like in my mind, I thought that was like somebody didn't pay and like he took their scooter, so he was just like driving it around the house, like yeah.
Okay, because I was like, yo, look at the man. He's probably getting some checks from the city, and he's also
dope. Yeah.
Doing this dope.
One quick story about that I always like to tell actors and stuff like that. Claudia was there, so she'll co-sign. But when I shot that scene, the next scene that we shot after that was the intervention scene. That comes. Yes. So basically, I shot that in the living room, and the intervention scene was in the kitchen of the same house. So while I was shooting that scene, the rest of all those actors were in the kitchen waiting for me. So I could have decided to shoot the intervention scene first, or I could shoot my scene first. And when you're directing, you can have everybody love you, or you can have hate you. So what I did was I did that scene in one take, and then while I was doing it in one take, I was asking my DP. I was like, "Anybody count how many takes that was? Just a one take? Oh, we got it." And then we were doing the close up, and I did the close up in one take, and then I could hear the entire cast in the kitchen, sort of like seating, like fucking Lou, like.
Wait, was Claudia in the movie?
No, she was in the movie. She was one of the people in the background of that scene. She didn't have any lines, but she helped out on set, and she's one of people that I go to for like assistant director and stuff. But after we filmed my scene, we switched to the scene in the kitchen, and every single actor nails it. And boom, 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 boom. Like they all brought their A game. So
you put a precedent.
Hey,
you were like, this is how we do it.
All right, let's get to the bracket bit, Mr. Mateo. What I like to do is I create a bracket based on something that I think you know a little bit about. I create the bracket for scientific purposes, and you have to solve it. Now, whatever you want to use to solve it, whatever a scientific process you can do, what I've decided to play with you today is a bracket I like to call the Shake Off. These are either movies inspired by Shakespeare plays or adaptations of Shakespeare plays in forms of movie. I'm going to give you two of them. You can tell me which one you like better, which one you would rather star in, which one, if you had to watch one of them right now, which one you would rather watch. Whatever terminology, Scientology you want to use is yours. I provide the questions. You provide the answers. Are you ready?
You got it.
Interestingly enough, one of my favorite movies, it was filmed at the Cloisters, Looking for Richard, Al Pacino, 1995, sort of half documentary, half play, versus the B-movie standard, Romeo and Juliet, by the same studio that made Toxic Avenger.
You have to throw Toxic. Yeah, I'm Looking for Richard, man.
Looking for Richard. Are you a fan of that one?
Oh, I'm a fan of that.
Pacino finding the character, like
This is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the son of York, and all the clouds, the Lord.
Yeah,
there you go. Get after it. All right, we got Hamlet by Laurence Olivier, or the Lion King, which is Hamlet,
definitely,
but with lions.
Man, I gotta do the Lion King.
The Lion King.
Because he was nuts, man.
Yeah, Mufasa. Orson Welles' Othello, or Al Pacino again, Jeremy Irons, The Merchant of Venice.
Orson Welles.
Shakespeare in Love, a movie about Shakespeare that somehow won an Oscar, versus Forbidden Planet from 1957, based on The Tempest.
Forbidden Planet.
The King, recent Netflix movie with Tim Chalamet, versus Lady Macbeth.
I haven't seen either of those, but I mean, I started watching The King.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I don't know. I just like Lady Macbeth.
Lady Macbeth. Ran, which is the 1985 Kurosawa film, interpretation of King Lear, versus, and I didn't even know this was a Shakespeare inspired, but just one of the guys, 80s movie, and versus Ran. It's a great movie.
Classic.
Sons of Anarchy, which again was Hamlet, but with motorcycles. Or O with Mekhi Phifer and Julia Stiles, with O reimagined as a basketball player.
Yeah, I remember O. I don't think I digged it that much. I mean, it was cool, but I think Sons of Anarchy was more intense.
The only thing about Sons of Anarchy is they dragged it out for too long.
Too long.
Too
indeed.
long. I was like, come on, Hamlet didn't take this long. Yes, it is too funny. Yes, that somehow won an Oscar.
I know, that's pretty funny.
Shakespeare in Love was horrible. West Side Story versus 10 Things I Hate About You.
Based on The Taming of the Shrew. West Side Story.
West Side Story. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, or this got a lot of critique when it came out, Ethan Hawke's Hamlet set in like Manhattan in 1999.
Yeah, I remember that. Rosencrantz.
Henry V, Kenneth Branagh's. Was that the one that was 4 fucking hours? No, that was another. That's a different one. Versus Warm Bodies, which is Zombie Romeo and Juliet.
You know, I gotta go. I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
I mean, that's one of the most famous like video Shakespeare speeches, right?
Branagh
and Henry V.
But let's go with Henry V.
Is that the Henry V, right?
And that's one of the famous ones.
The St. Crispin's Day, right?
The St. Crispin's.
Yeah. Fassbender in Macbeth versus Ian McKellen. This is one of my favorites, where they reimagined Richard III as like Nazi Germany with Ian McKellen as Richard III.
I really like Richard III in that. I mean, I really like Ian McKellen doing that. Michael Fassbender is great, but
Richard III is probably my favorite because I love Searching for Richard and I love Richard III, the Ian McKellen version, both. But Fassbender's a fucking beast.
He's a beast, man.
And his Macbeth was plausible.
I'm gonna go with Richard III because I haven't seen the Fassbender's one.
All right, Kenneth. This is the one. This is Kenneth Branagh's 19. I sat through this movie at the two. It used to be the $3 theater, but before I sat through this at the $2 theater on West 50th Street.
On 50th Street?
Yeah,
I used to go to the
that was my go-to when I had my days off.
Man, $3, forget it.
It was $2 at some point. It was $2, and then it was $3. I don't know how much it is now. It's probably like $5.
No, it's now it's a theater. Now it's
just a regular.
Now it's a regular theater. Like they do plays and musicals there.
I used to love that theater. That was back in the day. Actually, interesting side note. I was on my day off one day and I went to go see a movie. I went outside, got a Kit Kat and a fucking Hershey's Kiss and another thing, and I walked down the opposite block on West 50th, sat on somebody's fucking front porch and smoked a bowl, and fucking 5 cops jumped out of a white van and arrested me. This is during Giuliani's overtime where they were doing quality of life crimes. They threw me in a band with somehow there were 3 other Colombians. They had picked up smoking in New York that day, drove us around Manhattan the whole night. They kept finding minorities, by the way, smoking weed outside, and they made us spend the night in jail.
Oh man.
Anyway, Giuliani time.
Central booking.
Anyway, but I did sit through the 4-hour version of Hamlet at that theater one day, and then there's obviously Emma Thompson's Much Ado About Nothing.
I really like Much Ado About Nothing. I mean, she's always fantastic, Emma Thompson. Good one.
And it's also not 4 hours.
It's not 4 hours, man. 4 hours. The stamina you had, man.
Yeah. I love. Man, I've sat. Okay. You want to hear about stamina? I sat through Titanic 3 times because I saw it with my mom, and then I was dating 2 girls, so I had to see it 3 times, and the last 2 times pretend that I was interested.
Well, you had a purpose.
I did the math. I think it's like 10 hours and 20 minutes of Titanic in theaters that I did.
Man.
Cyro says racial profiling. Absolutely, it was.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know what you're wowing at. Is it the fact that I saw Titanic 3 times, or that I sat through Richard III? I mean, not Richard III, but Hamlet. All right, Much Ado or Hamlet?
I think I said Much Ado.
Oh, sorry, Much Ado.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony Hopkins and King Lear versus Deliver Us from Eva with LL Cool J and Gabrielle Union.
King Lear.
My Own Private Idaho, which is also partially blamed, is also or The Tragedy of Macbeth, which is the new one that you just saw a couple. I think you saw that you posted.
Oh wow! I was so the Tragedy of Macbeth was so beautiful, and then My Own Private Idaho was so nice too. Let's go with Joel Coen's The Tragedy of Macbeth, because he was really beautifully shot.
She's the Man, based on Twelfth Night, or another Kurosawa.
Ooh, Kurosawa, Kurosawa, forget it.
Throne of Blood is a
Throne of Blood, yeah.
All right, Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet versus Men of Respect with John Turturro. Funny story about Romeo and Juliet. When we went to watch that, the first line in the movie, two-star-crossed in Fair Verona, where we lay our saying, 2-star-crossed lovers take their lives. And the girl I was with started crying at the end because she didn't know that they were going to die. So that's how that goes.
Wow.
Wait, Dizzy, as you think about that,
that's
says,
great.
wow, at you dating 2 girls at the same time.
The men was playing
and taking each to watch Titanic. All right, if you were dating somebody at the time that Titanic came out, it wasn't even a question. You were gonna have to at some point bite the bullet and go see Titanic. But my mom used to take care of this elderly lady that actually worked for Walt Disney when Disney World opened, and she she hung out and told a story about Fantasia and the painter what was the guy with the melted clocks? You know what I'm talking about? That he writes the surrealist with like the clocks.
Salvador Dali.
Yeah, Salvador Dali. So she was an assistant to Walt Disney, and she worked for Disney while they were building Disney World. And she was working directly for Walt Disney when they were having issues with Salvador Dali and his shit being too crazy for Fantasia. So she has like books that he signed for her, and she had all this cool stuff. Her name was Buffy. She was a real cool lady. So my mom used to be her caregiver, and she would take her to the movies all the time. She loved going to movies. And she also was in the academy. So for a while in the 90s, she would give me boxes and boxes of screeners back in the day when she got them sent to her. And anyway, sides note. But I did have to go see the movie with her and my mom. And then I was dating 2 different girls at the time, and they both said, let's go see Titanic.
Let's do Titanic.
But Romeo and Juliet, the
Romeo
Baz
and
Luhrmann
Juliet,
edition.
of course. The Baz Luhrmann, Leguizamo is in it.
Leguizamo. It's a fun ride, man. All right. Moving on right along. Looking for Richard or The Lion King?
Looking for Richard.
Orson Welles' Othello or Forbidden Planet?
Orson Welles.
Lady Macbeth or Ran?
Ran.
Sons of Anarchy, West Side Story?
West Side.
Any thoughts on the new one?
No, because I haven't. I want to see it. I don't want to. I want to see it. I will see it, but I can't say anything about it, good or bad. But I definitely want to see it. The trailer was great, but that was just a trailer.
If there's one person that can tell any story, regardless of whether it fits fits who they are, is Steven Spielberg. I don't mind Steven Spielberg.
Oh, he's good.
Doing my life story. I don't care. Henry V, Kenneth Branagh versus Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Rosencrantz.
Richard III with Ian McKellen or Much Ado About Nothing?
Richard III.
King Lear, Hopkins, or The Tragedy of Macbeth?
Let's go with The Tragedy.
Throne of Blood or Romeo and Juliet?
Oh, damn.
2 visually stunning movies.
So stunning, both of them.
I mean, Baz is incredibly brave. I didn't agree with his shot for shot of Psycho, but was it?
Psycho. Well,
no, wait, that wasn't. It wasn't. Sorry.
Was it Psycho?
Was it Psycho? I don't remember, but I did think visually it was incredibly brave of him to make something so colorful and so drastic from what we know. But Kurosawa's a fucking
I'm Kurosawa to me is the best ever, but I'm gonna go with Romeo and Juliet because that at that moment when I saw that movie, it meant a lot to me.
Cyro says she wants to see Gandalf take the throne. We have Cyro, have you watched Richard III with Ian McKellen? I mean, it is a friggin' beast of a movie.
He man, you gotta see it. You haven't,
and it's like Richard III Nazi hybrid with Nazi Germany. It's really fucking weird.
And the suits, like, yeah.
All right, so we're going with
Kurosawa? Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet.
Kurosawa's got a one in there already.
He has one in there.
All right, moving on here. Looking for Richard, Al Pacino, shot right there by you at the Cloisters, or Orson Welles, Othello.
Wow, it's getting tough, man.
I remind you guys that the bracket bit is made to create maximum pain. It is a scientific experiment.
It is causing me a lot of stress right now. Looking for Richard.
Looking for Richard. Kurosawa's Ran or West Side Story?
Ran.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern or Richard III?
Richard III.
The Tragedy or Romeo and Juliet?
Romeo
and I thought it was
really
cool that Frances McDormand wasn't even saying she wasn't saying the word for the movie during the press kits. Did you saw that?
Yeah, and she was phenomenal.
Yeah,
she was really good in the movie. She was really, really, really powerful.
I'm really looking forward to seeing that myself. All right, we got our final four. Wrapping it up with Mr. Francis Mateo. His book The Alto is out, available on Amazon. $10.
Yes.
Check him out. Check out his series, Frangil. Check out his series. Follow him. So you can see him as an actor. I think it's called Francis Mateo on YouTube here. You can check out his stuff. Make sure that you guys thank you very much for being on, man. Number one, I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me, man. Appreciate it.
All right, but let's finish this up. You got 4 to go.
Okay.
It's a tough one.
So it's gonna be Ran and Richard.
Take us through your thought process here.
Oh God.
What do each of these films mean to you? Even we're looking for Richard. I know that was probably a tough one. That's a tough one. That's
watching Pacino.
It's about the process.
Yeah, it's about the process and watching Pacino do that. When you have Pacino as a movie actor, but then, yeah.
And it wasn't Hamish at all. It wasn't like if Pacino did that today, you would feel like it was more like because he's sort of playing a version of himself now.
Yeah.
But this was Pacino still like in his like prime.
Yeah, like on the border of just like becoming the devil's advocate.
I think that was pre where you playing the blind guy, right?
I think it was post that.
Oh, right.
I don't know because he used to shoot like stuff and just like keep it apart and then
Right.
I don't know, man. Richard III was fantastic because of Ian McKellen, but Ran as a whole is the movie. Ran.
You think that's the best? You think that's the best interpretation of Shakespeare?
It's for cinematic purposes, and for today, right now.
Hey.
I feel like it's Ran, 1985, Akira Kurosawa, as a whole, because for Richard III, you have him. He's the show,
yeah.
Ian McKellen, but in Ran, the director wins because it's his vision, the lights, the moods, all of that stuff. And Joel Cohen does a great job for The Tragedy of Macbeth.
I haven't done like a rewatch of Kurosawa's filmography in a while. Like I think it's time for me to like go back and revisit those. A recent film, I don't know, did you see 13 Assassins?
Yes, of course. But I haven't watched it in a while.
That I think is like one of the, I think it's sneaking into like my top 10, 15. Just it's such a departure from his normal work and stuff like that, but he also can't help himself. Like there's just parts where he just has to do that, but for the most part, like I think it's like I kind of want to watch it right now, honestly.
You're giving me ideas too.
Well, you gotta order your book first. I want you to read that. I want you to read that Son of Rhubarb. Tell me what you think about it, man.
Most definitely, I'll do that tomorrow.
All right, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come on today, man. I wish you nothing but death for the next book.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the invitation. Thank you so much. It was a nice talking to you. It's great talking to you, and thank you so much. And for the people that are listening right now, I mean, great. Thank you so much. And follow, and do all that stuff for Big Chief Burrito.
And I hope that and I think, oh, you know what? You want to do a promo for me for 2 seconds? Just do that.
What should I do?
Just say, hey, my name is Francis Mateo, author of like El Alto, and you're watching Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito.
Fireside Chat.
Chat. Or you're watching Big Chief, Fireside Chats.
Or 2 a.m. Burrito, no?
Yeah, 2 a.m. Burrito's fine.
I like 2 a.m. Burritos.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna put you up on the full screen. All right, you ready?
Okay, you got it.
All right, whenever you're ready, go.
Mm-hmm. Hey, this is Francis Mateo. I'm an actor, I'm a writer of El Alto, and also Urbe, poet, short story writer. I invite you, please do check 2 a.m. Burrito with Big Chief Burrito, the man, the legend.
Gracias, hermano. Man, you come out here to California for anything on the West Coast, man. Burritos on me, man. And
definitely,
if I get a chance to go out to New York in the spring, man, I'll be sure to hit you up, man.
No, hit me up, yeah, definitely, most definitely.
I mean,
thank you so much, man.
Hopefully, I'm filming some stuff, and I can and we can work on something together at some point, man.
Yeah, let's do some.
Absolutely, man. All right, brother. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Everybody, have a good night. Be safe. Peace out.
Un abrazo, Luis.